What's up, Exiles? It's Hegemony, and the final Forsaken Masters Xena Master Cartographer revealed. We're going to check out this video, and I'm going to give you my thoughts on it. Let's go ahead and start it out.
Master Cartographer. There will be another cataclysm. And it will make the last seem like the sweetest of dreams. You and I, Exile. Together we shall
So this is the glimpse of the Eternal Laboratory in Xena's hideout, or in your hideout with Xena. Pretty cool.
Forgotten recesses of Rayclast. We will seek out the nightmare.
Nothing new here.
Doors left locked by the Eternals and the Val before them. I can
Tornado shot. Okay, so this is the big change right now. We have Anarchy, Onslaught, Domination, and Nemesis. And Chris said in the Nemesis mod, there's like an extra rare in every pack. Anarchy has an extra exile. Onslaught, I'm not sure. Domination, probably just more boxes. And then the item quantity. Just to have 2 to 8 item quantity on top of your map is going to increase the amount of currency you get, map drops, and overall loot. So this is definitely one of the masters that, you know, if you're participating in endgame maps, you'll definitely want to have, just because it'll give you that little extra boost to sustain maps. And this is also a much more flavorful way to play the game at the hardest levels. And the rewards should be pretty fantastic. At first I thought, you know, this was like too high of a cost for, you know, adding an additional exile, which is not the case. It's going to be like extreme cases of, you know, mods. Definitely very, very cool and an interesting way to play this game.
provide the means by which you may travel into lands on.
I like the idea of having your stash, your Eternal Lab, like all really close by in your vendors, so you don't have to, you know, do so much travel between waypoints. You just go to one place, boom, 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 min max. You know, your chest is right here. It's definitely gonna cut off like what, 5 to 10 seconds of in-game play, which means more XP, which means more maps. So if you truly are min-maxing on the ladder, you'll want to have her as your Forsaken Master in your hideout. And she owns some of the best and most rare little hideout decorations,
which you might return after your long and arduous journey.
Says find a unique item. This is something new, one of her missions. I don't see a timeline, but I guess this just means find a unique item within your map, which is pretty easy. I think there's probably a really good chance that you'll get it, especially if you roll it with good quantity.
In return, find the nightmare and murder it in its sleep, for only then can Rayclast truly be ours.
And she's a smoking hot red. Awesome. Alright, now let's move on to the patch notes, which I have not seen until now. So this is first-hand me reading it and thinking about it. So it might be wrong information. Correct me if I'm wrong and I'll edit it later. Alright, so Chris says the patch notes aren't confirmed or need more information. Clarification will be marked in yellow. Got it. Due to substantial balance changes, every existing character has been granted an optional full passive reset. To use this, click the Reset All Passes button on the passive skill tree. Note you must use this before allocating or refunding any other points, otherwise the option will go away. This is the same it's always been. Nothing's changed. New 3-month league challenge leagues. Challenge leagues are a great opportunity for a fresh start. All your old characters and items are still present in hardcore and standard leagues, but you're encouraged to join the new economies, complete challenges, and climb the ladder. This pair of challenge leagues will run 3 months from August 20th to November 20th US time. The new challenge leagues will start 8 new challenges. Players who complete 5 of the 8 challenges will receive an exclusive microtransaction helmet skin. The first 50 players to complete all 8 challenges will receive an exclusive Rampage and Beyond challenge shirt. Rampage is a standard league where streaks cause devastating effects to occur. Each kill causes you to become slightly faster and deal more damage. The kill streak wears off after 5 seconds of no kills. Whirling Blades action, Flicker Strike action, Rampage. I'm smelling that build. Flicker Strike, Whirling Blades. Oh yeah, probably gonna rock the best and highest stacks. Beyond. Beyond is a hardcore league. Characters who die are converted to standard characters. In the Beyond League, demons from another realm are attempting to invade raid class. Monster kills have a chance to cause small portals to appear. If enough portals spawn close together, a large portal opens, and demons flow forth. Several of those larger portals close together can open a third tier that result in a truly terrifying entities to emerge. In one of the several truly terrifying entities, so a big time boss. Out of the 15 total unique items added in this update, there are 3 new unique items that can only drop in Rampage League and 3 that can only drop in the Beyond Challenge League. Oh, Chris. People must have was this a troll right here? Oh man, people must have had a riot. No, it's not a troll because he didn't finish. He just typed in one word. Okay. You can claim a personalized hideout for free from any level 3 or higher master. Once you have a hideout, you can travel there using the waypoint panel. Hideouts are shared among your characters in that league. That sucks, because I was hoping it would be account wide so that I wouldn't have to level up reputations in other leagues. You can allow access to friends, party members, and guild members from within the hideout. Okay, so what I think this means is if you die on hardcore, or if you die on your ramp Beyond League, that your masters will still stay the same, but your character will be sent to standard without the masters. You can allow access to friends, party members, and guild members from within the hideout. Masters can be invaders. Is that what that means? Masters can be invited. Talking to finish discussing how to get crafting meshes. Okay, so this is something he's going to elaborate on when he wakes up. Crafting. Okay, so he's got more details right there. Hideout decorations can be purchased from masters in exchange for favor. These go in your hideout stash. You can place them in the world by right-clicking them and clicking them on your hideout. They can be dragged around, rotated. Use the rotator slider, R shift plus R keys, or reclaim delete key. Alright, pretty simple enough. The arrow keys can be used to move to the selected decoration. The mouse wheel cycles between different variations of the decoration. Okay. We've added an optional quest tracker, which displays your current quest objectives on the right side of the screen. This is a huge change for newer players, because newer players don't know what the fuck is going on. This is one of the things that I think is going to be very strong as far as like helping retain some of the newer players of raid class. Alright, we've added various tutorials to the start of the game. Another good step. They are designed to be non-intrusive and can be disabled in the options. So the advanced player doesn't even have to deal with it. That's a nice change that they gave you. Added a new dexterity skill, Tornado Shot. Fire a piercing shot that travels until it reaches the target location. It will then fire projectiles out in all directions from that point. Now this is where I got really confused, because it looks like when it just lands at where you targeted it, there's like tornado spawning per arrow that just stood still. But I'll just leave it at that. I don't want to go into too detail until I actually see it. Added a new strength in skill, Herald of Ash. Channel fire through your hands, adding fire to your physical damage. If you kill an enemy with an attack, other enemies nearby them will be ignited for the overall overkill damage. Oh, that is something that we didn't see, that we saw on the wiki that would, I guess, was wrong. The overkill damage will be shared, so it's splashed. That is very cool. So if you're a crit build, you know, killing stuff at, you know, with a 50k crit and it has like 1% HP, this will actually be pretty huge for crit builds, a buff to crit builds. Herald of Ash is similar to like additional, like a hatred aura, but it doesn't affect your party members, just yourself. That's very, very cool. Well, it doesn't say. It looks like it might have been changed. It might be an aura that you share now. Before that, they said it was self only, but in this description, it doesn't say self only. Added a new dex in skill. Herald of Ice channels ice through your hands. Added cold damage to your spells and attacks. Nice. So now we're seeing some spell damage based love. If you shatter an enemy, they explode and deal cold damage to enemies near them. If you shatter an enemy, they explode and deal cold. How much cold damage? That's what I want to know. Pretty huge. Doesn't say. Continue. Added new dex skill. Poacher's Mark. A curse that reduces enemies' evasion. Grants you life and mana when you hit them. Increases your flask charge gained. And has a chance to give you a frenzy charge when you kill them. So it's like Warlord's Mark, but buff, because you're getting the mana and life on hit. It's not leech. It grants you a frenzy charge when you kill them. I mean, that's okay. It's something different. I'm trying to think of. This kind of sounds like a good discharger. Discharger, Poacher's Mark. But you're gonna get frenzy charges. However, you can get Avatar of Fire to convert your cold damage to fire damage, so you won't deal any cold damage. So having extra charges, this seems like a good discharger curse. Life, mana on hit, flash charges gained to heal up, and then give you a frenzy charge when you kill them. Kind of like a blood rage type effect, but on a chance. Added, but yeah, using a burning discharger with Avatar Fire sounds like the way to go for this. Added a new strengthened skill support gem, Generosity. Auras linked to Generosity have increased aura effects to your allies, but do not affect you. Many boss fights, including Brutus and Mervale, have been improved. See the notes below for specific changes. Added 15 unique items, 7 of which were designed by supporters. One of them, Hegemony's Era. Hype, hype! Alright, minor features and content. We've added a duelist rogue exile called Zachary Desmarais. This exile uses Molten Strike and Lightning Strike. That's cool. It's a double resist check on one exile. We've added a new Marauder rogue called Victus Giant Bone, or Vicus Giant Bone. This exile uses EK, totems, and bear trap, as well as vulnerability curse and enfeeble on damage taken. Oh my god, that's gonna be pretty rough. Pretty rough. That's a good thing he doesn't have dual curse, because that vulnerability plus bear trap is gonna be a wombo combo. We've added a new Shadow Rogue exile called Willorin Demon Tamer. He uses Ball Lightning, Storm Call, and specializes in critical strikes. Okay. I think this one is probably worse out of all of them so far. Added PvP Spectator mode. We knew about this. Go ahead and skip that. When a currency item fails to apply to another item, it now gives you a detailed error explaining, oh, this is good. This is really good for the noob, because there's so many different kinds of currencies, and it can get very, very, very overwhelming, and they don't know what the fuck what's happening. So awesome, awesome, awesome. You know, these might be, you know, really insignificant, you know, things for you guys, since you guys are so smart and know how everything works in this game. But every time I read one of these that helps the newer player, you know, and that newer player may become pro. You know, he might be the next guy that's on top of the ladder. It's just a matter of time of him getting a grasp on it. But he might just be so completely lost and discouraged to where he just uninstalls the game. But I really, really, really like when GG has these kinds of, you know, efforts to, you know, grow their company. Because think about it, when these newer players become hooked or engaged in this game, they are going to support it, you know, just as much as any other player, and that support is going to increase development. So this kind of is like, hey, let's fix some of the problems that we have with retention of newer players or people giving up before they even hit Brutus. We've improved the user interface and many commonly used elements to a menu to make a feature discovery easier for new players. When respecializing bandit quests, if the use of the book would fail, you now receive an error message explaining why. If it would succeed, you will now see a confirmation prompt that explains that what will change. Another really good way. Although I don't know the fact that many newer players are doing this, because number one, you don't even know what the recipe is, and that's a little bit of advanced mechanics. This is more like towards the mid-tier to, you know, polished gamer. Flasks now refill when entering a PvP area, unless you're in a famine league. The mouse over tooltip for skills now has a comma delimitation for thousands of DPS. Okay, so now we don't see one long number, we actually see commas to, you know, I don't know, easier on your eyes and your brain. Chickens have been added to the forest encampment. Oh god, if I hear I'm gonna fucking lose my mind. Add an effect for long duration stuns. That's very, very cool. This is going to be aesthetically pleasing. Added a new frenzy effect. Frenzy orb or frenzy skill? I'm guessing it's the skill. Yeah, it's got to be the skill. 3D art has been added for the following items: Prismatic Eclipse, Storm Cloud, Alternate Art Brightbeak, and 3 dragons. Nice. Continue to incrementally improve sound, art, effects, and environments. Content from the Ambush Invasion Leagues. After the last 2 challenge leagues ended, we folded their content into the core Path of Exile experience in the following ways. Strong boxes can now spawn in all leagues, starting from Submerged Passage to normal difficulty. The weightings of each strongbox type has been adjusted, with ordinary strongboxes being much more common than other variants. Mods for these strongboxes have been adjusted. Cardos now have lower values of some strongbox mods. So it doesn't say how often you're going to, the frequency you're going to see it. It looks like it's going to stay the same frequency, very, very frequent, but they're going to be much more common in other variants. I want to know the frequency. I want to know if it's the same, because usually when they added something from the old leagues to the new leagues, there was always either a nerf or a reduction, but it doesn't say anywhere on this other than the nerf to Cardo boxes with its mods. I'm guessing you can't roll higher than like a +2 to level. That would probably be the penalty, instead of getting +5 and skipping huge map tiers. And the amount of numbers, like the items you can get, is probably going to be reduced from what, 8 to, I don't know, 4, 5. The new quiver progression added an ambush and invasion now has been introduced to all leagues. The old standard and hardcore quivers will no longer drop, which doesn't really matter because they suck shit. The only one that's decent is the Dex one. Outside of that, the others are just complete shit. There's no increase in value for them being legacy. The Void Eye and Valkyries items, unique items, will no longer drop as they are horned to ambush and invasion leagues. The invasion monster pack. Wait. Valkyries unique items. The Void Eye. What is the Void Eye? Let's look it up real quick. What is the Void Eye? Oh, the Unset Rain. And the gloves, I think. Veil Caress, I think, are the gloves. Yeah. Alright, no problem. Don't really care. It may become a bigger thing later on. Who knows? The Invasion Monster Pack and Guest Monster system has been made standard for the entire game. I thought they said that they weren't adding invaders to the main game. Early areas have some new monster varieties as a result, and there's more monster diversity in later difficulties. So I guess they put them back in. That's kind of cool. I like that a lot. I was worried when Chris said that invaders were not being put into the main game. Some invasion bosses have been reintroduced as regular unique monsters. That's cool. The Guard of the Mound has been rebalanced and added to the Prisoner's Gate. The Guardian of the Mound. Spine Snap has been rebalanced and added to the Slum Sewers. Okay, so these are invaders that are added to these areas. Alright, player life has been increased from 8 to 12 per level. Monster elemental resistance have been reworked. Many of the more common monster types no longer have resistances in normal difficulty. Some of the more challenging monster types have resistances, and unique monsters will have a large amount of appropriate resistance. All main questline, map, and corrupted area bosses have elemental and chaos resist, though, at a lower value. Okay, so this is a nerf to monster resistances overall. It should make leveling up as spellcasters more enjoyable, and even mapping. Mapping is going to be much more enjoyable, especially if you're like exclusively one particular element and then you fight a certain type of mob. Like, for example, if you're chaos damage and you're going against humanoids or those statues, it's very, very annoying and cringeworthy of like clearing those maps. So you would try to avoid stuff like Bazaar or Arcade and things like that.
Excellent.
Shock and Shock Ground have been changed so that they cause 50% increased damage taken rather than 30, but no longer stack. They do not stack with each other, cannot be shocked, and now prevents players that are being affected by Shocked Ground or Shock itself. So this means if you wear a Tricorn helmet, you cannot be shocked in Shocked Ground, which is a change that's new. I just don't find myself wanting to wear Tricorn other than in maybe a PvP situation. Corrupted areas offer greater chance for fragments in later difficulties. The chance of corrupted secret areas spawning has been adjusted. Corrupted areas offer greater chance for fragments in later difficulties. The chance of corrupted secrets spawn. Okay, so this is like a reduction in spawn, I'm guessing. It says adjusted, but blind now, it reduces the chance to hit by 50% rather than... Oh, this is a nerf to Bringer of Rain and nerf to Tempest Shield Blind. That's unfortunate. Blind was one of the underrated things that people don't really understand how and why it's so good. Obviously, it didn't do anything when you had Unwavering Stance, but huge nerf to blind. Both physical and elemental damage reflection from... Oh, this also means a nerf to Smoke Mine. Smoke Mine was like evasion tank. Like, it doesn't matter if you had this is a huge change to PvP. because it doesn't matter how much evasion you don't have. The fact that you're in a smoke mine and your enemy gets blinded, you now has a 50% chance of hitting you with an attack, or yeah, with an attack. That's kind of cool. Nerf to smoke mine in PvP, which I think it was warranted. It's a little too powerful for all, like, that's something that doesn't cost much other than just one use of a gem. Both physical and elemental damage reflection from monster auras have been reintroduced from 15% to 14%. Excellent. This is very, very good because of the fact that you do not have that +4 all res that you guys are used to getting, and the nerf to aura nodes and the purity, it's gonna have an effect. So I think it could have gone as low as 13 or 12. 14 is only 1% difference, but I mean, it's still a significant amount of damage. Step in the right direction. I was definitely worried about this, but I like it now. In 1v1 duels and 3v3 PvP, Conversion Trap no longer affects players. The Trap Mine support gem now has multiplicative damage bonuses that are specific to traps and mines respectively. This means you can't cast a skill through a trap and mine for double bonuses. Okay. There was a build where you could do like arc, mine, and double dip, and people tried to do this with EK. While it didn't have very good clear speeds because it was so clunky laying down these mines, what's it called? This was like a way to get really good bursts in PvP, but no longer double dipping. I don't really think that it was that necessary to nerf this, but okay. The reduced mana support gem is now available for all classes as a quest reward. Wow. Wow. So do I want to still go Templar? I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. I'll have to decide later. Totem life increases have been increased to compensate for fixing a bug where they are applied twice. I didn't know that there was a bug like that. Early quest rewards have been reworked. The Shadow now gets Viper Strike as their first gem, while Duelist gets Double Strike. Several other early rewards have been changed and adjusted. And if you notice that early skill and early items, we went and saw the Taiwanese weapons list. All the tier, like the first tier weapons, have been increased drastically in attack speed. Most of their physical damages have been nerfed, but I generally think that people, or GGG, that was like a ninja way to get people to feel good with their abilities instead of swinging such a slow, unflavorful, gem. People haven't experienced what it's like to use multi-strike or faster attacks. You never get to that point of being able to use those gems. So giving people attack speed, cleaving a little bit faster, all these kinds of things are going to make people a lot happier with, how the game is represented when it first comes out. The mana costs of all skills have been revised. In general, most skills have their mana costs reduced. Much of the mana cost reduction is focused on skill levels that fall between players 20 and 40. Vol skills can no longer support by trigger gems. Can no longer be supported by trigger gems. Okay, that's cool. Most of my Val skills I used, on demand because they're so infrequent that you want to be able to control when they go off. Arctic Breath. Cast time has been reduced from 1000 milliseconds to 800. Okay, so it's now faster to cast, but the mana cost has been reduced further than other skills to account for this change in cast time. Its damage has been reduced by 20%. Okay, nerf to COC. This is the same thing we saw with EK. This is a nerf to my trap, increase in cast. This is, pretty much verbatim to the EK nerf. Give it a faster cast, reduce the mana cost, and reduce its damage by 20%. The same change was applied to the monster versions of this skill, though to a lesser extent, or no extend if they had a cooldown or mana cost. Burning Arrow now deals 130% base damage, has 50% converted to fire, and has a fixed ignite chance. It gains increased burning damage and physical damage per level. This is a huge revamp of the way Burning Arrow works. It's no longer additional fire damage on top of your 100% physical. It's going to take 50% converted, much like Lightning Arrow, but instead of this being Burning Arrow. It's going to make for pretty interesting Ignite Prolift builds. Definitely needed since Burning Arrow is a bit lackluster. I can see people using this with Avatar of Fire also. Cold Snap, we've changed the freeze chance to 30% at all levels. We've increased the damage of Cold Snap by 50% at all levels. What was the freeze duration right now? Cold Snap. Okay, so the chance to freeze got nerfed to 14%. The quality is still going to remain the same. So 44% to 30%, but 50% damage increase. I think that's fair. Cold Snap is one of those things that you could spam with Ramir's Banquet. So, but you can no longer crit because you pick up like RT with it. Critical weakness. Life and mana on kill have been added. Life and mana on kill with crit weakness. Really? There's now a chance to gain a power charge when you gain on kill. The curse has been renamed to Assassin's Mark. So are we still seeing the more damage on crits and the crit chance? Or is it, because it says it's been added, which makes me think it's been added to its current existing mods. There's now a chance to gain a power charge. Is this additional to crit weakness? I don't think so. I think it's just going to be these two, if anything, which is kind of disappointing. Chance to gain a power charge when you kill an enemy. But if you're using Power Siphon, you already have that. Oh my god. What are they doing crit weak? This is a huge PvP nerf, because this is the choice of curse for PvP. You're gonna get a power charge when you get to kill an enemy. Like, you don't kill enemies unless you're killing a totem or you're killing a minion, which is very, very rare. Oh my god. It looks like the new PvP curse is gonna be vulnerability or temp chains or punishment. I like the diversity in curses in high level dueling. Cyclone.
Excellent.
If it's been added, then that is insane. If you get a power charge, extra crit chance, and more crit damage, that is going to be insane. Whoa, you know. Cyclone. This skill can no longer be supported on the support. Oh, this is definitely going to be the Wukong choice of curse, probably. Yeah. What Hegemony's era, of course.
Excellent.
A chance to gain power charge, that's really huge as far as the continuity. I think this is going to be an amazing curse for Immortal Wukong, Hegemony's era. Alright, people are saying that it's going to have it added in addition, so you get power charges, mana and life on kill, and its additional crit chance and more crit damage. Alright, so overall, super buff curse. It's going to be hard to not use it. Cyclone. This skill can no longer be supported by the multi-strike support gem. This is another good gem change, because what multi-strike did with Cyclone was it made its most unpredictable desync. So any new player that's like, oh, I'm using a physical attack base, or I'm using an attack base skill, and I know multi-strike to be one of the best skills that you could put on shit, let me put it on Cyclone. And you're just like, you put it in and it's just complete AIDS. Like, you can't control your character, it's gonna multi-strike where it wants to, and it's probably the highest form of desync you can find in this game. Multi-strike Cyclone. So that's a good change. The crazy part is people were using this as a PvP advantage. People were using Flicker and Multi-Strike Cyclone, and they were doing insane amounts of damage when you got caught in it. When you got caught in it, it was like instant death. But it was so unpredictable. This was mostly done by like either max block based or CI block Aegis Aurora Cycloners. They were trying to do this. Detonate Dead now deals entirely fire damage. It deals 8% of the corpse life as well as the flat damage. The damage increase per level has been significantly increased. The base cast time has been decreased from 850 to 800. The quality on the skill now offers substantially less cast speed, from 60% cast speed at 20 quality to 20% cast speed. So you actually are encouraged to level this up. No more level 1 Detonate Deads. Nerf to Detonate Dead. Big time. Reeve. You're going to actually have to worry about your resource management, I'm guessing, as you level it up. Alright. The skill base area has been increased by 17%. Oh man. The area increase per stack has been reduced from 20% per stack to 15%. Oh, the base area. This is still a buff. So it's going to start out bigger, but then the area per stack has been reduced a little bit. Doesn't matter. This is overall huge quality of life buff to Reeve. Viper Strike, we know that this one is completely revamped like the Burning Arrow. This skill now adds 10% physical damage as Chaos and has a 50% chance to deal 175% of the attack damage as Chaos damage over 7 seconds. The effect duration won't be refreshed by new attacks. There's no limit on how many number of Viper Strike debuffs an enemy can have. So dual curse Viper Strike. If you're doing Viper Strike, I strongly recommend that you go dual curse in some fashion, so that you can temp chains, which is a defensive curse and an offensive curse for Viper Strike. Since there is no limit to the number of Viper Strikes you can put on or apply, you want them to last as long as humanly possible, and degen for, it's going to help you with the upfront physical damage portion, which is going to help your leech, and then the degen damage is going to be amped by vulnerability. Viper Strike, daggers, multi-strike, just apply as many hits as possible, because you only have a 50% chance to deal it. The chaos damage. Shockwave Totem. The skill now counts as spell damage. Okay, so this is a huge buff to Shockwave Totem, because before all you could do was physical. It had a shit crit base. Damage has been increased by 50%. Its duration has been reduced. Okay, well then now the fact that it can scale by spell damage makes me think that it's not such a shitty spell anymore. Very, very good buff to Shockwave Totem. It might be the new Searing Bond. Very, very cool. Warlord's Mark. This curse now has an increased chance to be stunned and reduce enemy stun recovery. The life and mana leech are now not specific to physical damage. It now has a lower chance to grant endurance charges on enemy death. Okay. I still don't see myself using this Warlord's Mark in any form. Yeah, I mean, I just think there's some much better. Maybe if you haven't got to that crafting bench, or you haven't had that elemental leech, maybe this is what you would use to circumvent that, like a placeholder curse until you could support it on gear. That would be the idea, running a leech base, elemental leech base build. I don't know how much life and mana leech it actually gives you, so it's too hard to say without the number values. Skill buffs. Ball Lightning increased. Oh yeah, we have increased the critical strike chance of most lightning spells. I wish they would give us specifics.
Excellent.
So most lightning skills are notorious for being 4%. So I'm guessing 5. I don't see any lightning skill going over 5. Ball Lightning damage has been increased by 30% at all levels. Cleave. This skill no longer has a damage effectiveness penalty.
Excellent.
While dual wielding it now gets 65% of weapon damage. Okay, when dual wielding it. Okay, so you can get damage from your offhand. Very, very cool. Flame Surge. We have increased the width of Flame Surge area of effect. That's kind of cool. Freeze Pulse. We've increased its projectile speed. Damage is increased by 50% at level 1
Excellent.
to 40% at level 20. Freeze Pulse is going to make a comeback in PvP. Low life Freeze Pulse is actually going to be pretty fucking good. Like, it's already pretty strong right now. Like, I was watching this guy in Sarn Arena doing it with low life, and he was insanely powerful. And he was already able to shoot off screen. So, having even an increased projectile speed, even shooting further than that, it's going to be pretty insane. Freeze Pulse may be the new EK for self-casting PvP. Overall, huge quality of life to Freeze Pulse. It definitely needed it. It definitely needed it. Freeze Pulse can now, I think, be a very good feeling ability even in the end game. So we're bringing it back. It's a throwback skill. We should see the life of Freeze Pulse in 1.2.0. Glacial Cascade. The area of effect of each eye section has been increased. This also increases the area overlaps of sections of each eye. Oh, okay. So the area of the overlapping section. So okay, let's draw this real quick. So let's say Glacial Cascade in its form. We'll use a blue, and we'll use boxes. So say this is like the first hit, second hit, third hit. Let's just say this is hypothetical. I'm not sure what it actually is. They're saying the overlap is going to increase. So maybe you'll see something like this. You know, kind of like where the game decides you're going to take another hit of Glacial Cascade. But we also have to remember that the width is increasing. Wait. Is the width increasing too? Okay, so the area of, yeah, it is. So let's just say that this is the old Glacial Cascade. Let's redraw it. Let's just say I'm going to be generous. This is the old Glacial Cascade. Alright, now we should see something like a wider one with more overlap. Actually, something like that. I don't think it's going to increase the frequency at, which it hits. I don't know. Anyways, you get the idea. More overlapping space. I didn't draw it that well. It definitely needed it. It definitely needed it. Glacial Hammer. We have increased its damage effectiveness from 125 to 130%. That's good. I definitely was having quite a bit of leech problems with Glacial Hammer, but with its mana cost reduction, it should be in a good place. Ice Nova, we've increased the high level damage to the skill by up to 15%. That's good because it costs a shitload to self-cast. So if you want to make it map, I still don't think that this is enough to make it like level 90 plus map worthy. Ice Shot, the area and arc sizes have been increased. Additionally, we've added damage effectiveness of 120%. Okay.
Excellent.
What is the damage effectiveness now? Ice Shot. %40 of physical damage converted to cold, % increased physical damage. Yeah, so that was 100% added.
Excellent.
Okay. The area and arc size has been increased, so it means like the EK portion behind iShot is going to be bigger. Very, very cool. I'm interested to see if we're going to see iShot builds. Ice Spear.
Excellent.
We have increased the damage by 33% at level 1 to 87% at level 20. Very, very good change, and it is a crit-based cold skill. We could see this in maps. I wouldn't be surprised if we started seeing self-cast Ice Spear or even dual totems in map pools. It has a 600% chance to crit at phase 2, which is roughly around, with the 7% base, I think it's around 50% without any other modifications. So high damage with high crit chance means get crit multi, and we should probably see some pretty substantial freezing and damage output. Lightning Strike. This now deals more damage, up from 120 to 130. Okay. The penalties that give monster life, damage, and energy shield have been reduced by a flat 10% at all levels. Raise Specters. The penalties that gives to monster life, damage, and energy shields have been reduced by a flat at 10 all. So this is this is a buff since snapshotting was nerfed. Raise zombies now have 50. Yeah, so they're giving you guys some love. This is the bone that GGG is throwing you guys for taking away your snapshotting. Summon Skellies deal 50% more base damage than they did previously. Here's some love to summoners. Spark now does 20% more damage at all levels. It now bounces off frost walls regardless of whether they're being cast by players or monsters. Oh, pretty interesting. Pretty interesting. Frost wall. I don't know if that you could cast it fast enough. I think in a pinch, maybe you could box someone in and then Val Spark trap them and just watch them just fall over. And if you have like some of the pierce nodes or projectile speed nodes, it's sure to hit them many times. But kind of like yeah, I guess spark casting will have major advantages to putting up walls and closing off areas. You're probably going to want to use an increased duration frost wall in this case. Very, very cool. Alright, skill nerfs. Oh man, that's quite the long list. All curses have their powers reduced so that the available bonus for them could be removed into the passive tree. So you will be able to get back to where it originally was, is what I'm assuming, with the nodes on the tree. Elemental resistance reduction curses have been further reduced to compensate for the reduced monster resistances. Okay, that's a nerf in the PvP regards if you're using multi-curse. I don't see many people using LE weakness in PvP high level dueling. Most of them are using crit weak or temp chains or punishment. Anger. The damage this aura provides has been reduced at higher levels from no change at level 1 to an 18% reduction. So this happened with Wrath also, so we'll cover them in the same thing. Oh, it's been reduced by 24%. So Wrath got an even more significant nerf. Wow. So this kind of means like the effectiveness of that Elemental Wander and the LE Buzzsaw is drastically nerfed. But those builds were pretty cheap to begin with, so maybe they're just being brought down to how much they actually cost to run the build. Arc. We have reduced the damage by 15% at all levels. Even though with the 15% nerf, it's still an amazing skill. We're still going to see a lot of arcing. Clarity. The cast time of Clarity has been increased to 1.2 seconds to line up with the other auras. This mana reservation of Clarity has been increased, and the mana regeneration rates adjusted. Alright, so I think at level 20 it costs 550 mana reserve to cast, and the mana regen has been reduced. It just says adjusted. I'm not sure what that adjusted up or adjusted down. I'm not sure. I think before we saw he said there was a reduction on how much mana it gives back. Elemental weakness now gains minus 8% enemy resistances at 20 quality instead of 10. Okay, so even bigger nerf. Enfeeble. In addition to the general curse reduction, the duration of Enfeeble has been reduced. Oh man, that's big. That's big. Because one of the reasons to use Enfeeble over Temp Chains. Wow, Temp Chains didn't get nerfed? Wow, I'm surprised. The reason to run Enfeeble over Temp Chains was because it lasted so much longer, like the duration, so you didn't have to keep recasting it. Big change. Flame Blast. We reduced the critical strike chance from 6% to 5%. That's good. I didn't need that much crit anyways, because I wasn't going crit. I was going proliff. We have reduced the damage by 15% at all levels. That's fine with me. I'm still gonna run it. Frenzy. This skill now has a constant attack speed per frenzy charge of 5% rather than increasing as the gem levels. Okay. Projectile weakness no longer reduces the enemy's chance to evade projectile attacks. Wow. I didn't think that was worth it. I didn't think that was necessary. Searing Bond. Damage at all levels have been reduced by 18%. Oh man. So now definitely Shockwave Totem is seeming more appealing. Spectral Throw. We have reduced the damage effectiveness of this skill by a flat 8% at all levels. Summon Raging Spirits. The damage done by the Summon Raging Spirits has been reduced at higher levels up to a 20% reduction at level 20. So nerf to Summon Raging Spirits. They buffed it at the higher levels and now they reduced it. Vulnerability. In addition to the general curse reduction, vulnerability no longer affects Energy Shield. Nice. The Energy Shield recharge delay increase and Energy Shield recharge rate reduction in stats have been removed. Nice. In addition to the increased chance to stun, reduce enemy stun recovery stats have been removed as well. Okay, still no change for me in PvP. Vulnerability now only increases physical damage and degeneration damage. I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that. Still gonna use it. Wrath. We've reduced its damage. Alright, we did that one. Added chaos damage. The mana multiplier has been reduced. Oh, nice. We're seeing some reductions. Thank God. These are the ones that I felt like I was gonna do this. My next segment in the podcast, provided I was still doing it, was gonna be Path of Support Gems. And I was gonna discuss everything that I felt like cost way too much reservation or mana multipliers for what it did, and I was going to give you guys exact values, but it seems like GG already did the job for me. They reduced all the ones that I was petitioning for. Awesome. These are huge, because once you start to tack these on to self-cast, your cast becomes like you do like 3 or 4 and then you have to pump a mana pot, which is really clunky. But this is going to help you be able to spam shit. And oh man, across the board 10% reduction nodes. Very huge. Block chance reduction. The amount of penetration has been reduced by a flat 10% at all levels. This is a big nerf to PvP. There are some builds out there that are dodge, block, and evasion based, and they're just like next to impossible to hit. And block chance reduction was one of those tools that were able to penetrate through their defenses. Now it's been reduced even further. I'm kind of disappointed in this, but whatever. We may see a change later when PvP tournaments come out. Cult of Fire. This gem now converts 50% for cold damage to fire damage at all levels. This also adds what? This also adds a percentage of cold damage as fire, starting at 10% at level 1. 10% at level 1. What does it do at level 20? But this is interesting. This is an addition. Before Cult of Fire, I felt like it was never worth it, because why run a cold skill to root and then use a support gem that's going to convert some of the cold damage, which the state of cold damage was pretty horrible. But now with Ice Spear, Cult of Fire Ice Spear might be a thing. You get crit fired, like a really high crit chance with a fire skill, but you're going to get additional fire damage starting at 10%. So you're getting more than a 50% convert. So now you're starting to see more bonuses. Yeah, this is pretty amazing. We're actually, like, I'm pretty confident that we're actually going to see Cult of Fire used in gems now, with the bonus, the extra incentive. I don't think it's going to be all super powerful, but I definitely think it's going to make it competitive as a proper gem choice in your links. Curse on Hit. This trigger gem now has a 100% chance to cast on socketed curses. It has a 10% reduced curse effectiveness at level 1. So this doesn't mean that the duration is going to be reduced. It's just the what it does as far as amplification of whatever or reduction of whatever. Up to a 9% increased curse effectiveness at level 20. So it actually improves when you level up this Curse on Hit gem.
Excellent.
The quality bonus has remained the same. Cool. Cast on Critical Strike. The chance to cast has been reduced by 20% at all levels. Huge nerf. However, it's still, I think it's brought back down to reality, because Cast on Crit was super cheap to run and very effective with the amount of rapid payloads it was able to deliver. And with the addition of the pierce section of the right hand side of the tree, I definitely see a meta conforming to Cast on Crit with that right side piercing. Like, imagine your Arctic Breaths and Fireballs piercing through the first wall of mobs and going on to the next, going for extra AoE and more coverage of an overall clear speed. So the 20% chance, I think, is warranted. It's going to be a lot harder to do as, lower levels, in my opinion, but I think it'll be in a nice spot and much more interesting with the pierce portion of the tree. Chain. The mana multiplier has been reduced from 200% to 175. Wow. Awesome. Fork. The mana multiplier has been reduced by 10%. Awesome. Holy crap. All these. You know what? This is really good. Blood magic gems. Being able to run stuff on mana alone. Incoming, more usage of mana flows and things like that, and just picking up those mana wheels. People are so used to running high physical base builds, high HP, regen, and just put it on a blood magic gem. Just put it on a blood magic gem and call it a day. But this is definitely going to give you more options and more interesting supports. That's what this is going to do. Giving you guys the incentive to run your shit on mana now. Don't cop out on the blood magic gem, and that's just a placeholder. Pick another interesting support gem to utilize with your main ability. We'll still see probably blood magic gems used with curses and other things like that, depending upon how much you actually want to reserve on auras. So the aura reduction nodes were nerfed. You're now going to run stuff with like Herald of Ash or Herald of Ice, things like that. Really was concerning me with how much mana you're actually going to be left left with, you know, to cast some stuff if you wanted to run it on mana. And I was concerned that we were gonna move into a league of just fucking run the auras that you can and slap a blood magic gem in. But this is a very, very good change across the board, and I see what they're trying to do. They've given you all these awesome, unique support gems. Now it's up to you to experiment, come out with your favorite combination, and yeah, enjoy the game and its complexities. Blood Magic Gem was such a stale gem in my opinion. It was just like, pick your flat auras, you know, put whatever auras, maximize as much mana as you want, or you know, utilize all its reserve if you need, and then just slap on a Blood Magic Gem. That's like passive. You could still do that. I mean, you could still do that, but now they've given you more incentives to, hey, you're next to these mana nodes that are pretty damn good. Go pick them up and use a different support, you know. Alright, the passive skill tree balance. I've already done a lot of these, so I'm not going to go over these into too much detail. Let me skim over to see which ones I feel like are worth saying. This one, there are now large fire, cold, lightning, wand, dagger, trap, mine, claw, bow. Yeah, all these were additions. A lot of the ones that we see on the top side of the tree next to witch. And they offer status ailment help, like they offer additional improvements and tools to keep your status ailments up and trigger them. So very, very nice. The wand damage nodes were super buffed. It's actually very, very efficient, starting to look more like dagger nodes. I think wanders will be a lot more viable, especially not requiring you to go super end game as far as your requirements in gear to run it. We have piscators, but we do need a physical unique wand. Someone, a diamond supporter or eternal, needs to come up with a stepping stone fizz wand so we can have some fun. Yep, the -4 that you can get on the tree, it's been moved around into +1s all scattered around. You can get +1 to all resist, but they're so far apart and they're only the singles. Mortal Conviction has been changed to 60%, less mana restoration from 40% less. Curse effectiveness, cast speed, curse duration, curse area effect will now be available throughout the tree. Whispers of Doom is no longer permacurse. Or, I mean, Hexmaster is no longer permacurse. It's just 100% increased duration. Really big nerf to PvE. PvP, it's okay. I don't think many people are going to want to pick Whisper or Hexmaster. Seeing as that I think it takes 3 notes just to even get there. But no longer, hey, come into my instance, quad curse this boss and then bounce. Thanks. You know, none of that. You're actually, whatever this game has in the future for bosses and boss kills, no longer cheesing it with permacurse with a buddy. Alright, aura reservation costs and aura effectiveness bonuses have been reduced across the tree. A new aura notable called Champion of the Cause has been added. Champion of the Cause, what the fuck is this? I don't remember seeing this. Some special stats have been added to a few select notables. More similar stats will be coming in future patches. All bows have their damage base increased by 11%. I saw a lot of attack speed on bows improved too, and crit chance. The first 2 tier of weapons with bows in its first and third tiers now have a higher attack speed and lower damage to compensate. The second tier of short bows have a lower attack speed and increased damage to compensate. The Decimation and Death Bow have been given some increased critical strike chance implicit mod as the Harbinger Bow. Very, very nice changes, giving you mid-tier and a lower tier. Lower tier being Death Bow is your first one, Decimation is your mid-tier bow, Harbinger is your end game. So you can run crit-based bow builds early on if you find a weapon with good stats on these particular bows. The recurve bow and sniper bow have been given the same weapon elemental damage, same thing. Added elemental to the implicit to make the leveling experience more enjoyable. I wonder what this means for early tier to mid tier ranger racing. I wonder if this is enough for somebody like Terry, who always muled Spectral Thrill, to actually just go bows. Especially with all the arrow changes and buffs and reduction in mana costs. I'll have to talk with Terry to see what he thinks. The recurve bow and sniper bow have been given the same weapon. We read that. New tiers of life and mana flask, divine and eternal, have been added at 65 and 70. I'd imagine you'd be able to recipe up your old flask to eventually get to these divine and eternals. This is what I was talking about with this shift and change with flasks in the new meta. They're giving you a lot of defenses on the tree, and you are going to take spikes of damage due to, you know, running less purities that are super buff, having less max all res. There are things that are going to put a pretty big hurt on you and cause you to spike. However, you're now actually given a fighting chance with your ability to react with good potions that'll, you know, increase your life substantially. Very, very, very good. Probably means less logging out. I mean, people are still going to log out because they're so used to playing that way, but maybe this is enough so that you can take periodic spikes of damage from a boss, stay in the game, and heal up through a reaction. Players that have good reflexes and good calls, definitely super buff, and the overall enjoyment of the game. Probably less logging out. I would think by the end of this league, we'll probably see, you know, people changing their style of play, able to handle and stay in the game. You know, no longer spamming your 300 seeding flask, you know, 300 HP seeding flask, and actually getting like 1,000, you know, something substantial, and spamming them and staying. Especially with the flask effectiveness and flask recovery nodes, those are going to be super buff. Mid to higher tiers of life flask have been buffed substantially. The life portion of hybrid flask have been buffed. The sapping mod on flask now only increases life recovery down. Okay, so it got nerfed, but who cares? It's just like super mecha buff to flask. Just keep bringing in new tiers. You know, 2 more tiers. And then each one of those tiers before were buffed substantially. Now having, you know, 6k life, it actually feels a lot better. Unique item balance. Oh man. So we're going to see some nerferinos and some buffs. The rarity of tiers of many uniques have been changed. Notably, 2 of the experience gain items have been made much rarer. The 2 additional curse items have been made. Oh man, I was planning on using Dodries. Damn it. So Windscream and Dodries have been made much more rare. Fuck. I wanted dual curse flame blast. Ugh. Damn it, Chris. Why you gotta shatter my dreams? The rarity of uniques dropped by the Uber Atsiri has changed. Atsiri's Acuity is now the rarest drop from her. No longer the axe. So I'm guessing the axe is going to be way more common. Wow, they didn't nerf it. They didn't nerf it. Wow, Atsiri's Acuity is not in here. So they just nerf its rarity. Probably swapped it with the axe. 1 in 180 kills or something will get you a pair of gloves. This means an increase in value just because of how often it's going to drop from here on out. So if you don't have one, probably want to buy one now. Chinsol has its increased physical damage increased from 75 to 100 to 150 to 180, and its attack speed increased from 10 to 14% from 5. Wow. Chinsol is a super rare bow, or it's pretty rare. Rerolling its values using a divine orb on the side will also update your item. Let's look at Chinsol now. And the flavor of Chinsol comes from these last 2 mods. Bow knockback at close range and 100% more bow damage at close range. So Chinsol with substantial increased physical, and I'm thinking point blank and Roa, making your character like an iron reflexes with a lot of evasion, and using Roa to sit there, run up to a pack of mobs and just spam make it rain, you know, and having that knockback will also keep the mobs from constantly meleeing you, kind of like reshifting their positions, and you know, the micro kind of keeps you more in a defensive route while not being forced to take every single hit. So Chinsol, Roa, point blank should be pretty fucking amazing with this more damage at close range. You'll want to use you'll want to use like casting damage taken, maybe what's it called? Increased duration, immortal call, endurance charges, and what's it called? That might be a good reason to run Warlord's Mark too, if you can get enough endurance charges. I highly doubt it. But very interesting mechanic nonetheless. Get tanky with that armor. Make sure you get iron reflexes. It's probably going to be the best way to deal with that. Crown of Eyes now only applies to increase and reduce spell damage to attack damage. Multiplicative damages are no longer converted. So Pain Attunement, Righteous Fire, Crown of Eyes, nerf bat. Big changes. This affects existing versions, so the actual item did not change. Its interaction with the skill tree and Righteous Fire have changed. Crown of Thorns now grants 60 to 80 flat energy shield. Wow, that is a lot. I think it has like 18 on it right now, right? Crown of Thorns. $19 to $31, so it's more than doubled, and it has Pain Attunement. All right, so Crown of Eyes, existing versions of this item change. Okay, if you use a divine, oh yeah, who's gonna use a divine on their shitty ass Crown of Thorns? This might see some light in low level dueling, and using something like Solaris Lorica, or not, what was that? What's that chest for low life, low level? Pretty cool. And the Witch Dart has, you know, those ES nodes. I still don't think it's worth. They still need to buff a lot more uniques for leveling as Energy Shield Life Hybrid to be worth it. But if you find this leveling up, it's not so bad. So slap it on for Pain Attunement and some Energy Shield. I definitely, in a hardcore league, will still want to use like a gold rim or something, or a rare with life. Dark Scorn now has additional physical damage from 6 to 10 to 10 to 14. This mod cannot be spawned on the past versions of them. Okay, so Dark Scorn was drastically improved. We saw it on Reddit. Physical, we now have 2 more stepping stones for physical damage bows, but using a divine will no longer add prefix. You'll just have to find a new one. So the ones that you have now, they're shitty. You might as well vendor them. You won't be able to get the flat fizz. Alright. Dying Breath now grants 18% increased aura effectiveness instead of 18% increased damage taken. Old copies of this item have been updated automatically. Okay. Montragul's Grasp now grants 2,000 life to zombies, up from 500. Rerolling values using a Divine Orb on this item will update your item. Okay. Shackles of the Wretched now gives you cannot be shocked for 3 seconds after being shocked from up from 1 second. Old versions of this item can be rerolled. So this is Gouda's unique. Pretty cool. Shadowron's Revelation. Energy shield regeneration has been reduced from 4% to 3% per second. Existing versions of this ring will only be updated if a divine is used on the item. Alright, so I need to go back and update my shafts rings to get them as perfect as possible before... I think it's only the interval that changes on shafts ring. But these are now becoming super legacy, and I don't know that anybody would want to reduce it in exchange for the int roll to change. Yeah, it's kind of silly. Unless they're planning on this ring spawning in the upcoming league. I don't know. Specific monster balance. Nice has been reworked. He now has a skill tree where he slams the ground, dealing an area of effect and summoning miniature minions out of the rubble to assist him. Very, very cool. The Deep Dweller has been reworked. He now has 2 skills. In his first form, he can disturb the ground, calling sand spitters to emerge, much like the Invader. The Invader with the invulnerability shit, or Undying. He also has an additional skill in the second form where he fire sprays, or he will fire a spray of projectiles at enemies. He no longer has a slowing arrow, no longer AoE temp chains. So what? He's gonna become like the Peacock or EK. I don't know what this means. Fairgraves have been reworked. He now has a own spectral throw and summon raging spirits. Brutus and Mervale fights we've seen. Brutus hooks only pulls a target that he was aiming at. I wonder if this means this is a nerf to summon raging spirits, because if you had summon raging spirits and going up against Brutus, he would always hook the spirit in front of you. So I'm guessing that he's going to now bypass a minion to pick you if you haven't moved in the line of grip or the distance. You can move back, you can't move forward, but you can move left and right. But if you stay still with a minion in front of you, I'm guessing that he's going to pick you. General, Gravicious, and Descent champions, and Corrupted side area boss. The Sunburst Queen have been given a new skill tree to replace their Incinerate Novas. This skill will be repeatedly pulse out fire damage waves that increase damage with every additional cast. Okay, so no longer tanking through it, I'm guessing, through Leech. If you stay in it, you're probably gonna die. Hatebeat and the Crematorium now uses Molten Strike. Cool. Water Elementals summoned by the Goddess Purity in Solar's Temple level 2 and by Asphyxia in Reef and Wastepool maps can now cast Ice Nova when they are killed. And I'm guessing this Ice Nova is the Ice Nova that we've seen from lockboxes. Super heavy hitting. Get the fuck away. One of the bosses that you're gonna have to remember to, hey, let's back up before we get a killing blow on this shit. I like that change. It's definitely more flavorful in the boss fights. Although I do feel like that one is already rough in itself, because you can find yourself being permafrozen by her Arctic breaths. You know, very, very often. The Vessel and Ball Lightning skill now still ticks much more frequently and does slightly less damage. This brings in line with other Ball Lightning skills. Okay. The Weaver's life has been increased following changes to her resistances. Okay. Chatters in the lower prison will now trigger a cold version of Storm Call. Wow. When he hits you. His Glacial Hammer can no longer freeze you on normal difficulty. Okay. You know, with all these boss changes, it's definitely going to make racing... The racers are going to have to recalculate, you know, which encounters they engage. Obviously, the ones that they're forced to are Brutus and Mervale. You don't have to do Fairgraves. You can run around, Chatters, things like that, but... General Brutus and Mervale... Dweller of the Deep is something you skip in the races. But the Brutus and Mervale fight, I don't know, maybe people will end up choosing to farm the zone before instead of engaging into the boss, because they just feel like the boss is going to take much more time and you're going to lose a lot more XP. I'd be curious to see on what a Pro Racer has to say about the Brutus and Merville changes. Like, how much time are you going to need to warrant killing the boss? The new zones are, and all the timings, you know, what people are used to, getting into like 18 minutes, 20 minutes, you know, those are all going to be shifted, I think, with these changes. Running into scarier bosses with more mechanics, and then dealing with the heavy duty shit. Improved preloading of the game assets to remove some of the small stutters during gameplay. Alright, these are bug improvements. Alright, I'm not going to go through and read through all these since they're just bugs. I'll go ahead and link this Google Docs that Chris so nicely compiled for us to read and watch live. There are a couple things that he's going to add. Masters and missions, we pretty much know what they are. The crafting benches, I definitely want to see some of the mods that are finalized and the prices that go along with it, because when I talked to Chris, he said none of those prices and tiers are finalized. They're supposed to be small remedial values to help you get through and get by. So either the cost is going to get jacked up substantially, or they're going to get lowered drastically. And I think it's going to be the latter. It's going to be low. The actual values are going to come down way lower, and the cost will probably remain the same. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'll continue to do more YouTube guides and updates with the Forsaken Masters. Feel free to hit the like button if you like this video, and hit subscribe if you really love it. Alright, talk to you guys later.